Hey everyone, and welcome to the Class 1A podcast. As always, my name is Andrew Nimsgren, and I have alongside me James Graham and Dylan Beal to talk through the first filler episode of My Hero Academia Season 5. And Dylan, I don't know who better to ask than you about an episode on the beach in anime. You are the expert when it comes to this topic. What did you think?
I think I don't know if we want to go into this now or later, but I want to dispute the claim that it was filler. I don't think it was filler. I think it was a fine episode with some good things going on. Not saying that filler is bad, because filler is actually a good thing. I think filler gets a really bad rap, but I will say I don't think this is filler.
All right. That's a good little teaser. I didn't even see that coming. James, what did you think of the overall episode? Are you happy with this? You wake up on Saturday morning for this? Is it worth it?
You know what? Waking up on Saturday morning was working because I had another episode that just solidified the fact that Froppy is useless. So this is all I needed this morning. This was great. I was happy about it.
That's two very interesting takes that I did not expect to start the show off with. So we're going to have a lot to talk about despite it not being along with the main story. But before we do jump into everything that did happen, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure to go over to youtube.com/class1a. Make sure to subscribe, like, check out our other videos. We do a ton of other My Hero Academia content. Or if you'd rather listen on the go, we do everything. Go on to a podcast platform. It's on Spotify, Apple, all that. You can find almost every single episode over there as well. Plus, we are live streaming on Twitter right now. Not Twitter, on YouTube right now. So if you want to come down and check out the recording live, interact with us a little bit before and after, or ask questions, you can do that as well. But with that, let's jump into exactly what happened in episode 16 of season 5, Long Time No See Selkie. Deku, Todoroki, and Bakugo finish up the first day at the Endeavor Agency, and Deku begins to think about how Uraraka and Tsui are doing at their work study. We see that Uraraka got a new costume, and all of the agency is celebrating a first day completed. And then we go over to the next morning where we do see that there's a news report about an exploded trigger factory happening overseas coming out of the news. They're all kind of talking, reminding us a little bit of what trigger is, and then that there are rumors of all the chemicals being moved before the explosion happened to kind of hide the investigation. We then jump over to Selkie and Sirius, who are chasing an unmarked ship, telling them to stop. Suddenly, a member of the ship that's being chased uses trigger and then creates a huge smoke screen and allows them to get away. Selkie and Sirius talk and they put it together. This is probably going to be the rumored trigger chemicals, and they call in Ryuku's agency for a team up. All of them arrive at the islands, and instantly all the girls instantly go to the beach and just chill the entire day instead of going after the ship. And pretty much they kind of use the excuse of like, oh, we want them to remember what they're fighting for, but come on, we all really know why these four girls were on the beach for 90% of the episode. The sun starts to set and the heroes head over to start finding the ship. Eventually they do end up finding the ship because we have some people up in the air, some underseas, using radar and all that, and they do find the ship a little after the sun sets, and the villains use the smoke screens again to try to get away. However, this time this is what they wanted because then Selkie, and Froppy board the ship and pretty quickly take over the couple of villains that are driving there. And suddenly we do hear something dropped in the water, and a seaplane, which we've seen they've been hauling the entire episode, is about to take off. Pretty much it's out of range for everyone. Either they can't reach it fast enough, or it's too fast for someone like Ryuku to chase it down. So they have no other option but to shoot Uraraka off of a harpoon, and she then uses a brand new kind of grappling hook in her costume to grab it and get onto the ship. And guess what she does? She screams gun, head, martial arts, and takes down the villain with little ease, and then realizes seconds later she can't fly a plane, and the plane begins plummeting from the sky. Eventually, she does end up using her quirk to make all of it weightless, and Ryuku catches up and safely lands the planes. They then put all the girls back on the beach again to celebrate an episode well done, and that is where it wraps up. Except after the credits, there is just a little bit more to the episode because we do see that this is actually all one big movie tie-in, with the movie's main villain upset that the heroes are stepping in and stopping the chemicals from getting there, but that they already have more than enough for their plan to go into action, giving us the one little tie-in that we will have to the August 28th, 26th movie that will be coming out very, very soon. So that was a very pleasant surprise to wrap up the episode. So I guess where I instantly want to move with this is, do you guys wish that there was more about the actual movie tie-in now that we realize the entire thing was a tie-in? Or was just a little spoiler at the, not the spoiler, a little teaser at the end good enough for you guys?
I think I was totally fine with it. I liked a little bit of a teaser. I still think that there's gonna have to be something maybe on like how does like Deku and Co. Because it's about Deku and them. How do they like actually get there from presumably the Endeavor Agency if they're gonna take it from this point, right? Like how are they actually gonna facilitate that like actual going to the thing? But maybe that's just in the movie.
Well, they drop in from the bus. That's how they do it.
Well, yeah, but where does the bus take off, James?
But no, I agree because as we know, the story is following the manga quite closely, right? Like, I mean, it's pretty bang on. So where do they get this like this nice little break to like slip this in, right? I totally get what you're saying, and you can really only do that with filler. So this was like an appropriate episode to do it with, but I don't know how they're gonna bring everybody else into that because they are clearly tied up running around for Endeavor.
Yeah, I do have a question though for everyone here. I want us to make a bet on this. We got introduced to this new country in Europe. I guess they can just make up countries
Didn't they literally
now.
just call it like Europa or something like that?
No,
It's
it's
Othio.
yeah,
Othio.
Otheon. It's Otheon.
Otheon, yeah.
So Otheon, where does everyone think Otheon is? I want to take bets on this. I want there to be some stakes on the line.
I want to say it's like right north of Italy.
I'm saying like Romania, Transylvania.
I think it's in the Mediterranean. I think it's going to be in the Mediterranean.
Really? You think?
Well, okay, so here's my reasoning for this. I thought about this basically the entire time Andrew was giving us the recap. I was thinking about this. Othoion, right? The name. It sounds like a Greek name. You can't just have it exist in a country that already exists today. I don't think they would do that. So they have to just make up a location where it could be, and it has to be in the Mediterranean.
That's kind of why I said north of Italy. I mean, that's pretty damn close to the Mediterranean. And also, he was kind of giving the middle and kind of gives me a little bit of like popey kind of church vibes. So I feel like it being very close to Italy is kind of why I get that.
Yeah.
So I think it's rated that it's going to be around there.
Yeah. So it will be an island in the Mediterranean. I'll get all the points. Andrew will get some for having his heart in the right place.
Isn't Romania like right on the Mediterranean Ocean too? I don't even know where Romania is. I don't know.
It's like northeast.
NA geography time.
I don't know. Getting like it is like big Vatican vibes though. Maybe Vatican City's just Otheon. Like maybe
because we have seen a couple of teaser images outside of it too. So I guess we haven't seen we've seen maybe one full body picture. So that's just kind of going off a little bit I've seen kind of online from this teaser. But nonetheless, this does get me excited for the movie. I think I did a video a couple weeks ago talking about kind of some of the arc changes. And I mentioned at some point there's going to be a movie filler episode. And this was it. So I agree that I don't think there needed to really be more. I like that kind of everything that was happening in this episode tied back to that because I don't know. I don't think you want to give away too much before the movie. And I really think there might be one or two more lines during the actual anime. But I think a lot of that will be explained during the movie. I think it'll just kind of be very quick explanation like, oh, hey, everyone's already at this work study and Riku Agency called in that like, hey, we realize something much bigger is happening here. So everyone just flies off. I mean, I think a lot of heroes are very quick to just kind of react like that anyway. So I don't think there needs to be a huge setup like, oh, we've been investigating this for months. It's like, oh no, a police officer in Europe realized that there's 30 tons of trigger all in one area. We need to go to get it taken care of. So
yeah, and this is one of the first moments that actually solidified that it's canon, that these movies are canon. Like they explicitly said, like this thing is going to happen in the show. I think the only other time was the Island trip. I think they alluded that they were going to go on the trip, but there never
was
really.
There was a filler episode where they got an invite about it. They got like an invite during it, like the Love Bank heist one or whatever.
Yeah.
At the end of that, they got an invitation from All Might got an invitation. So wouldn't that have been canon as well?
It would have been, but it was the first iteration, so I don't think we really knew how to call that one. You know what I mean? So
this one and like some stuff that has happened later in the manga has definitely solidified that they are committed to like saying, no, this is actually canon. The movies are canon. Look towards them for sure.
Yeah, but that means now that splitting all or One for All is now canon. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, no,
I don't
that
want
one
to think
still
about
hasn't
that.
been mentioned during
Yeah,
anything.
that one maybe not so much, but
I hope it stays canon because it was like so far it's been my favorite. I loved it. I loved it a lot. So
It was
I
definitely
loved
the best.
everything about it except the end.
amnesia.
So I guess we should actually spend a little bit of time talking about the extra episode. And I think we kind of mentioned this last week where I was saying that, hey, if you gave me a spin-off manga of all the different characters just having their own time at the agency, I'd read it. But I don't want to see too much of it actually on the show. And now the very next episode was an actual episode about them just going with the agency. So we see that we do pick up the Todoroki kind of the Endeavor arc next week again, which is great. But I enjoy this a lot more than I thought I would. When I started seeing the preview pictures come out, and I'm like, shit, it's just going to be a beach episode. I worry if it's even going to be worth it. But this was as good as a beach episode could have been, I believe. There was a good amount of action. It was still fun. It was lighthearted. There's good moments. So I still really enjoyed the episode overall. But obviously, I would have preferred to be with Endeavor and the Todorokis and all that.
Yeah, I think I think it served its purpose as best as could as filler. You know what I mean? I think it wasn't too slice of lifey. It was still kept true to being filler for My Hero, right? You still had heroes doing hero things. So I think yeah, it wasn't just pure fan service either. Like we really I think like I wouldn't even say like a good portion of the episode was spent on the beach. Like there was like I don't even want to call it 50-50. I'd say like what like 30-70 maybe like
Yeah, good chunk.
yeah.
I skipped through it. It made recapping very easily because I realized, like, wow, they spent a good 3 minutes at two different parts of this episode just on the beach, and I don't have to recap at all.
Yeah. But the
But
rest of it though, like, yeah.
I think this is a good time, though, Dylan. You mentioned at the top of the episode you don't believe this is filler. I don't, or that it's not bad, or I don't know. You have some kind of argument about this episode, and I'd like to hear it.
yeah, so one, this isn't filler.
Why?
This is not filler. So filler literally means like you're putting in certain episodes to fill time. This was not made to fill time. It has a specific purpose. So I think it's in two purposes. One is the explicit one that's very obvious. It's the movie tie-in. They have this episode here to clearly like call out like when the movie is, the background for the movie a little bit, and like honestly like to advertise for it a little bit. Like that is what this is for. But two, I also think it has the purpose of like hyping up and like showing like the growth of Uraraka a little bit. So like if this was filler, it would be because Horikoshi went on break and they're like, well, we don't want to catch up to the manga, so let's just invent a story arc and put it in there. And that would be filler. This isn't filler because that's not what the goal here is. The goal here is like to do the movie tie-in to add an episode there. And then I think it's also for Uraraka as well because like she doesn't get a lot of screen time going forward in a lot of instances. And I think they wanted to really, put some more in there with her because she's an important character. So I would not call this filler. And number two, filler's not bad. People always talk about filler, how it's like, oh, filler's bad, blah 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 blah. Like it's just the beach episodes. It's crap. We don't need it. But filler can be good. I don't have any examples on hand,
Oh,
but
I mean, I
DBZ
do.
has yeah,
Oh, there
DBZ
you
has
go.
plenty of them. Andrew, what do you have?
I mean, Naruto Shippuden. I mean, you look at that, the Itachi Light and Dark filler arc, pretty much anything with Kakashi's origins, like all that's filler. But some of that is my favorite parts of all of Naruto Shippuden specifically. That's the one I could think of because I haven't watched too many super long shonen. But I mean, those two arcs were better than some of the actual canon arcs in Naruto, in my opinion.
But isn't that kind of going with like I haven't read the manga for Shippuden, so I don't know. Like, but is the Kakashi like upper like background arcs like are those in the manga at all, or are
Not the
those
original
solo-
manga. I think they've made side stories about it, and they
they've
did like a
since
side one
invented-
about
okay,
Shikamaru as well. But no, like if you go through like a filler guide, like they're considered filler, but they're recommended filler. So
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
And
Alright.
there's like exactly, it's like the two different types, right? There is the one that is they're adding in there because they want to elongate the story, so it's literally filler. But
Yeah.
these are like anime writers aren't just like bad writers or anything like that. Like inherently, like you have some really good writers working on these shows, and they can come up with some really awesome original stories. And we shouldn't just throw it away just because it's filler.
Yeah.
But the reason why we throw it away so much is because a lot of shows, Bleach, put in these filler arcs that suck and that
Yeah.
are terrible, and they like bring down the idea of filler. And that really sucks. I think nowadays there really isn't filler arcs so much because they usually wait until a series is complete, or they like pace it out correctly. They're not afraid to go on like a 2-year hiatus. Like if
Yeah.
like My Hero, like if the story keeps going on for a really long time, they will just like stop making the show for like 2 to 3 years. I mean, Attack on Titan did this, right? Or where they just stopped making the show for like 5 years or something, like
I
crazy
think I
like
think
that.
I think the big thing why filler arcs were a thing, I think it was just the anime scope of the time that people were like, holy shit, this is catching on, this is sick. Like crank it out, crank it out, crank it out, right? And that was like
Yeah.
the 2000s of Naruto, Dragon Ball Z, Bleach, like all this shit, right? Like everybody was so excited about it, right? So I think that's a big reason. But now, like you said, like I think the industry and fans are a lot more disciplined when it comes to stuff like this. That they're not going to be calling for heads. Like they know people are waiting for the source material to finish, right? Or getting to a point where you can like start it back up and not do it. I think Haiku did it like recently too. Like they were waiting and waiting to like so the story built up enough for them to have something to put forward, right? So I think yeah, it's a big thing, and it's nice that the scene as a whole is kind of matured that way. That you aren't producing, like you said, like bad filler, like unfortunately, and it hurts the credibility of the anime too. Like not to shit on Bleach or anything like that, but I do think that the filler arcs did hurt Bleach, right? And I don't
Absolutely.
want to see
Oh my god, so badly.
yeah, yeah, and I don't want to see that to happen to My Hero, right? I don't think I don't think we'll ever see that. I think Bleach was the guinea pig for that for the like 4 filler arcs, but yeah.
And I guess going forward, I will try my best to call it an anime original episode just for
There
you,
you go.
Dylan. How
Thank
about
you.
that?
I appreciate
Unless
that.
it's shit, then I'm calling it filler.
Yeah.
Can we
I
agree
will
on that?
say, yeah, that's fine. But I do think that like there is a chance that My Hero would put in a single filler episode if they want to like pace out a season to
Mm.
make sure that like certain arcs end in certain locations or
Mm.
certain times. So like I
Yeah.
actually wouldn't throw that like off the table in terms of like timing because like I guess maybe when we get to the end of this, maybe this was a filler episode because they wanted to get the timing right. Like maybe that is a true statement. But I don't think we can say yet. I do think it had a purpose though.
So there, this was episode 16. This 25. So we have what 8 episodes left, 9 episodes left after this one.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
trying to think about that, and I think next week, and I guess we have to. It's really curious to see how much longer the Endeavor arc goes because we do know there's one more arc this season, the whole My Villain Academia kind of stuff. So kind of seeing where that wraps up. I think Endeavor has to end in a week or two. Otherwise, I worry that could be cut off, and that's when a filler episode like this, even if it's an anime original episode, that's when something like this, looking back on this season, would lower the overall season for me. It's like, well, shit. Like we've read all the chapters now, and this fight was just it wasn't included in the anime because there wasn't enough time to animate it. They had to kind of skip over it. Like when that kind of stuff would happen, I'd be a little sad, but as of right now, I enjoy this episode, and I actually think this was probably on par of my enjoyment with some other actual main episodes of this season and past seasons. So I have no issue with it.
I'd agree with that, yeah, for sure. But I think we do need to talk about the whether or not the new costume is practical or impractical. I like it.
Well, that, or if we ever see it again. I don't think we're ever going to see those giant balls again. Like a grappling hook, all of a sudden Uraraka just has. There's no way that is like ever used again in the anime. Ever.
It wasn't even a grappling hook. It had a ball at the end, so it's almost like a bola that's like attached. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, this is almost used to like trip somebody, but she uses it in a grappling. Like I was just like, it happened, and I was like, wait, what? Like what is going on?
It's a cool addition, though. It's definitely a cool addition. I really liked it.
But I think a big thing that we've always talked about with like hero costumes and stuff like that is like, how does it coincide with the quirk? And does this play into her obsession with martial arts, or does this play in with something else?
It's just with her quirk. It makes sense because like she needs a way. So not only to grab onto people, but to grab on things when in the air. Like if she's just floating there, like that. This has a clear purpose. Like,
okay, that's fair. That's fair. I was thinking more of like her being stationary and then trying to like catch somebody or something like that. Like I mean, I guess, but like everybody could use that. But her being in the air makes a ton of like way more sense.
Or she could kind of do what the villain from like Iron Man 2 does, is just kind of pull them out a little bit and kind of use them as whips. That'd be pretty cool too.
That would kind of be cool. Just like hit someone with the end of it.
But like you just drop them out like halfway instead of like the 50 feet it goes. You drop it out 5 feet. and then you just start swinging them around, and they could be metal, and then I think I've seen someone talking about this, or we talked about this, and then right as she's about to hit, she lets go of her quirk so that it still does the full impact. Like that'd be pretty badass.
We talked about that though, and we want to see Uraraka run around with like a gut-sized fucking sword.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
what
Or
we
for
want.
big hammer.
The sword that
like
Eerie
what
had
Big
from the
Hammer will
Christmas
do.
episode. That's what
Yeah.
she needs to have.
Yeah, sword. Yeah.
So there's
I'll
another part
commission
of the there's another thing I want to call out from this episode with her. So in the scene of where she was using Gunhead's martial art, she added her own flair at the end of it, and I thought that was a really cool thing because it like showed like the progression of her actually using it, of where she like when she was picking the dude up, she like zero gravity him and then like redid it when he was falling to the ground. That was
And-
sick. That was so
Gravity
cool.
Plus is what they call
Yeah,
it.
the gravity,
Gravity
plus.
Yeah. But like it's at the end of the day, it's still just a hip toss. It really bugs me. Like it's all it is.
It's useful.
How
I mean,
long
yeah.
until she calls it Uraraka martial arts?
Like we're due at this point.
Will she just say? Do you think? Like, let's just go with the hypothetical. Do you think 20 years from now she's a top 20 hero? Is she still screaming out Gunhead martial arts when she's flipping people over?
It'll become a homage at that point though. Like I think she's got a defense for it. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Kirishima. Like I think like there's still room for it. I think it'll happen.
They're still learning. They're still becoming masters at these things. They need to wait until they get perfect at it, and then they add their own flair, and then slowly becomes their own.
That's true. I mean, yeah, I guess what her work study was like still 2 months ago in the anime. I mean,
Yeah.
the time between everything is so short that it does make sense for her still to be very, very fresh in her mind. But I guess with that, let's move on to this week's Plus Ultra Award, where each and every week we pick a member, or each of us pick a character that went beyond, that went Plus Ultra, and throughout the season we'll tally up to see who went Plus Ultra most throughout all of Season 5. And James, I'll let you lead off with this week's episode.
Can I do like the most useless one? Because I'll
No.
pick from no. So I want to pick Uraraka because we saw a clear progression of Uraraka. We saw some weird, funky modification to her like her uniform that like worked better for her, and she basically got hit with the "you won't, pussy, you won't," and then followed through. Like Ryoku literally called her out and was just like, "You can't, like you won't do it, you won't," and then she made the entire airplane like weightless. And I think you got to think too, as far as like a power goes, like I think that's pretty crazy. That was a big aircraft, and she made that entire thing just like slowly float along. So I honestly think she deserves it.
Dylan?
I think it's the easy choice. Easy choice for Ochaco.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add, and I agree. I mean, literally not believing in yourself and then having the power to do it because like it was bigger than anything you've ever done before is the definition of Plus Ultra. So I think that, yeah, this is 2 sweeps in a row, and I can't even really think of anyone else. I mean, Froppy didn't really do anything. Ryuku,
Selkie was
Nejuri,
sick.
Selkie was probably
Selkie's
would have been
sick.
option number 2.
Yeah, Selkie did okay. Like he actually had a pretty good episode. Like he like used the sonar real well. So
We didn't talk about Selkie at all, but this is a pro Selkie podcast. Just want to
Yeah,
make that clear to everyone.
we do stand Selkie and serious.
Yeah,
More
don't
serious than Selkie.
don't fuck with those two. But with that, let's wrap up this week's episode. Thank you all so much for tuning in and watching along. We hope you guys enjoy this episode as much as we do. And if you have any questions, you can always send it in to contact@popedoff.com. You could have been asking questions here during the live stream. Ask us things on Twitter, however you want. You can always do that, and we can answer those at the end of the show. But for this week, we will be wrapping up and being back for next week's episode 17, where we will continue the Endeavor Agency arc. Hope you guys all have a great day, and see you then.